Alien franchise has had quite the journey over the decades. From the heights of the original Alien and Aliens, which set the gold standard for sci-fi horror, to the string of lesser sequels, spin-offs, and questionable prequels, it's fair to say the Xenomorphs have been through the ringer. Now, with Alien Romulus hitting theaters, the question is, can this new entry rekindle the fear and suspense that made the originals great? Or is it another overhyped addition to a franchise that has overstayed its welcome? I'm Olu James, and this is Hit or Miss. Let's break it all down. From the trailers, Romulus looked like it was promising a return to the stripped-down, no-nonsense horror of the early Alien films. The philosophical ramblings of Prometheus and Covenant are gone, thankfully, and in their place is a smaller, more self-contained story, focused on a group of workers in deep space who stumble upon a nightmare that should have been left alone. On paper, it's everything fans of the original films wanted: a smaller budget, practical effects, and a retro-futuristic production design that feels like a throwback to the 1970s and 80s sci-fi classics. And for the first half of the film, Romulus does a decent job. We're introduced to Rain, a miner stuck on a backwater planet working for the ominous Weyland-Yutani Corporation, because of course it's them. The atmosphere is suitably grim, and the isolation is palpable. When Rain and her ragtag crew are roped into exploring a derelict space station orbiting the planet, the tension is cranked up to 11. It's classic Alien stuff: dark corridors, a slow buildup of dread, and the sense that something horrible is waiting just around the corner. Unfortunately, while the setup is solid, the characters themselves don't leave much of an impression. Rain, played by Kaylee Spaney, is competent, but not particularly memorable. She's no Ripley, lacking the same depth and charisma that Sigourney Weaver brought to the franchise's original heroine. Sure, Rain is tough, resourceful, and has a tragic backstory, but we've seen this before, many times. Her relationship with Andy, a decommissioned android she lives with, is meant to bring some emotional weight to the story, but it never quite lands with the same impact as, say, Ripley and Newt from Aliens. The rest of the crew? Well, they're mostly cannon fodder, let's be real. There's the usual mix of engineers, tough guys, and nervous tech specialists, but none of them are developed enough to really care about. They exist to get picked off one by one in increasingly gruesome ways, and while that's kind of what we're here for, a little more character development wouldn't have hurt. The only standout is Andy, the android, who adds an interesting dynamic to the story with his own mysteries and conflicting loyalties. It wouldn't be an Alien movie without a xenomorph, and Romulus delivers on that front. The creature design remains as terrifying as ever, and the film does a good job of using practical effects and keeping the monster in the shadows for most of the runtime, building tension rather than blowing it all too soon. The claustrophobic setting of the derelict station gives the xenomorph plenty of opportunities to stalk the crew, and the kills are suitably brutal and gory. But here's the thing. We've seen this before. While Romulus brings the xenomorph back to its roots as a terrifying, near-unstoppable force, it doesn't do much to innovate or evolve the creature. There's no new twist on the mythology, no new horrors to uncover. It's just the same old xenomorph doing what it's always done, which is fine. But it also feels like a missed opportunity to push the franchise forward. And then there's the third act. What starts as a promising return to form for the franchise quickly spirals into chaos in the final stretch. The slow-burn tension that made the first half of the movie work is tossed out the window in favor of nonsensical action sequences and plot twists that feel ripped straight from the Alien playbook, but with none of the finesse. Characters start making dumb decisions. The action becomes increasingly over the top, and the script seems to forget that this is supposed to be a horror movie, not an action blockbuster. There's even a subplot involving a face-hugger attack that plays out so quickly and conveniently, it's almost laughable. In previous films, the process of infection took time, adding to the suspense. But here, it's all over in minutes, seemingly for the sake of keeping the plot moving. And don't get me started on the climactic showdown, which feels like it belongs in a completely different movie. A movie that's trying way too hard to recapture the magic of Aliens, but without the groundwork to support it. Where Romulus does shine is in its visuals and atmosphere. The production design is fantastic, successfully recreating the gritty, retro-futuristic look of the original films. The space station is a character in itself, with its rusted walls, flickering lights, and eerie silence. The practical effects are a nice touch, giving the Xenomorphs a tangible presence that CGI just can't replicate. The cinematography and sound design are also top-notch. The way the film uses silence to build tension, broken only by the hisses and clicks of the Xenomorph, is a throwback to the original Alien in all the right ways. But even the best production values can't fully mask the script's weaknesses, and by the time the credits roll, you're left feeling like Romulus could have been so much more. So, is Alien, Romulus a hit, a miss, or just overhyped? It's a tough call. The film starts strong, with a solid premise and some genuinely suspenseful moments. It's a love letter to the original Alien and tries to capture the same sense of isolation and terror that made the franchise so iconic. But by the time the third act rolls around, it all falls apart, leaving you with a finale that feels more frustrating than frightening. If you're a die-hard Alien fan, Romulus might scratch that itch for more Xenomorph action. But it's not the return to greatness that the trailers promised. Instead, it feels like a missed opportunity, a film that could have been something special, but ultimately played it too safe and stumbled when it mattered most. So, my final rating for Alien: Romulus. Premise: 3 out of 5. Storyline: 2.5 out of 5. Character development: 2 out of 5. Cinematography and visuals: 4.5 out of 5. Tone and style: 3 out of 5. For an overall score of 2.5 reels out of 5. It's a film that shows promise, but ultimately succumbs to the same pitfalls that have plagued the franchise for years. It's a borderline miss for me. What did you think? Did Romulus hit the mark for you, or was it just another letdown in the Alien franchise? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more honest reviews on the latest TV shows and movies. I'm off to get a drink now.
Stop it. Get some help.